Most beginners mess up by starting with selling to the general public, just normal people. And that's very difficult because in the last episode of this bootcamp, in order for you to make a lot of money, you have to charge a lot of money, right? And when you sell to the general public, just normal people, it's hard to get them to pay out a lot of money, right? Because everybody is scarce, everybody is scared of spending money, and they don't understand that in order to make money, you have to spend money. And I can prove it to you right now. Let me tell you this. Before you watch this video, or maybe you are one of these types of people whilst watching this bootcamp, you probably were sold on the idea of cold calling or cold DMing before you were sold on the idea of running paid ads and spending money on advertisements because you thought you could make money without spending money. And if you're anything like me, you did the cold calls and you very quickly realized that's not the case. Okay? So the general public, most of the time, they are very ill informed at the fact that they think that they can make money without spending money, right? Or the ones who consider themselves entrepreneurs where they're not really actually, like they've made less than 1,000 in their business overall throughout like the entire span of their business career. Those guys, you'd be lucky to sell them something cheap, right? Most people, the general public, they just want to buy something cheap, and it's harder to sell cheap things and make a lot of money from it. To give you an example, if I said to you, yo, find me 100 people in the next 24 hours that will pay you $100 or £100, that'd probably be really difficult to do because no one really knows 100 people like that are willing to spend that 100. That makes sense? So, but on the flip side, if I said to you, yo, you need to find just one person to pay $1,000, $2,000, right? You probably know one, two, maybe three people who have $1,000 in their bank account. You know, them, actually spending it is a different thing, and like spending it with you is a different thing. But the actual concept of like how many people do you know that have money to spend? Because you probably don't know 100 people that will be willing to pay you $100, but you'll know one person that's willing to pay you 1,000, right? It could be a family member, it could be a friend, something like that. So what I'm trying to say is, it's much easier to sell to one person and sell them something slightly more expensive in order to hit your 10K goal than it is to get a lot of people to pay a small amount. Okay? So one thing that you need to understand is that there's two types of markets to go for, right? And then I'm going to create a concept which is the third market that I want you to go for later on in the video. But for right now, there's two markets you want to go for. There's the B2B market, and then there's the B2C market. Okay, so let's start off with B2C. B2C, so B number two C, stands for business to consumer. Okay, and you're basically just selling directly to everyday people, just the regular general public. Okay, so examples of things could be gym memberships, online fitness coaching, skincare products, anything where you're selling to normal people, right? B2C people, like the consumers, the people you're selling to, those guys tend to be more emotional. They tend to be protective of their money because they don't have a lot of it and they're very scarce. They're very quick to haggle, and they usually, if they do buy, it'll be like less expensive stuff. Like these types of people will spend $200 to $500 or pounds on a holiday, absolute max, right? These types of people, or maybe they'll spend like 1,000 at most, right? These types of people are just normal people, just the general public, right? B2B, on the other hand, this is business to business, okay? Business to business. This is where you're selling, you as the business owner are selling to another business. So you're selling to companies that want to grow, basically. An example of what a B2B business could look like, let's say we use the gym example again. If you sign on a gym to help them sign on more members, that is a B2B business because you are a business helping another business. So you could be helping gyms sign on more members. Do you see the difference between me being a gym and signing on more members? Um, Sorry, yeah, me being a gym and signing on more members, that's B2C. And then B2B would be me helping another gym, which is also a business, to help them sign on more members. Does that make sense? Another example could be helping dentists book more patients. So a dentist, their business would be having the dental clinic, and you as a business owner are helping their business. Or it could be running paid ads for a med spa. Just anything B2B is where you are selling to businesses. And the reason why B2B is better to make money is because B2B buyers, so people that are buying these services, are obviously business owners, and these guys are more logical, so there's not much emotion involved. They're more ROI focused, meaning if they can see that the thing that you are selling to them will make them more money, that is higher priority. And as long as they can see a return, they will spend money. Okay? The core difference between a B2C market and a B2B market, the difference that matters to you, is that the B2C person will ask, can I afford this? And a B2B person will ask, will this thing grow my business? Does that make sense? So let me give you a very real situation that happened with me. I had a sales coach because I was really bad at sales at one point. And at the time, I only had £1,500, so $2,000 in my bank account. And this sales training cost $12,000. If I had the B2C mindset, I would have thought, can I really afford this? Probably not. That's what the B2C mindset is. You don't want that because you're thinking very scarce. The B2B version of me, like the mindset I was developing, B2B, I was asking, will this sales training grow my business? Am I getting enough sales calls booked in? Yes, I am. Am I closing enough sales calls? No, I am not. Am I losing money because of it? Yes, I am. So what do I need? I need sales training. Very, very logical answer. I removed all feeling from it, right? So guess what I did? I went to that person and I was like, hey, this is how much money I have. How do I work with you? And we split something up. I went on a payment plan or whatever. And that very month, I made 25K back. To USD, by the way. So selling to people who think like that, who think, is this thing going to grow my business, yes or no? Rather than, oh, can I afford this? Selling to those people who are B2B, thinking, will this grow my business? Those are the people you want to sell to. Because it is much harder to master human psychology, and it's harder to learn how to become manipulative and emotionally push people to buy. It's harder to learn all of that stuff. Like, why would you do that? Just have a very logical offer. And by the way, later on in this bootcamp, I'm going to walk you through how to build out offers, including the service delivery, so you actually feel confident pitching to these people. But when you make your offer to a B2B person, it's very logical. You literally just want to present an offer where it's like, you'll get this thing if you work with me. Yes or no? And in their mind, they should be thinking, okay, does this thing make me money? Yes or no? Yes, it does make me more money, so I will purchase the said thing. It's literally as simple as that. Okay? The reason B2C is very, very hard is because these people are emotional. They only buy cheap stuff, which means you can't make that much money. They have tiny budgets, meaning you need huge volume. Okay? So what does that mean? If you're selling something for $100, let's just say, right? In order for you to make 10K, you need 100 customers paying you $100, right? Because 100 times 100 is 10,000. Do you know how hard it is to manage 100 customers without getting refunds, disputes, chargebacks, unhappy customers, bad reviews? It's very difficult, very, very difficult, right? So, in order for you to service that many people, you need to have the infrastructure in place, meaning you need to have like the the back end of your business all set up correctly. And to put that in even simpler terms, you need to make sure you have employees that have set roles and responsibilities to manage all of those clients and customers. Does that make sense? But you are a one man army. Maybe there's two of you or three of you, right? You can't afford to do that because employees cost money. It's such a headache. No one really wants more clients, they just want more money, right? It's such a headache to manage those people. And on top of all of that, it's more expensive to manage that many people because with software costs and things like that, you are going to spend more time actually working in the business because you have so many people to service, right? And then with the software costs on top of it, let's say you're using a software and they're charging per person you're using it for, it will just make things so much more expensive, right? So you don't do that. You do not want to do that. And the next thing, obviously, with B2C, why it's difficult is in order to get them to buy, they have to trust you a lot because they're so scarce and they're so scared of everything. They need to trust you so much, and you have to tell all these stories and make them feel a certain way before they close. It's just a ball ache, right? You do not want to do it. B2B, on the other hand, these guys have much bigger budgets. Like, these guys, I literally spoke to someone yesterday who said, "Yeah, I don't mind spending $25,000 on ads. That's fine with me." It's completely nonchalant, like as if he was talking about $25 or $2.50. Like it was ridiculous, right? And that's just normal in the B2B space. So these guys will spend 25, 30, 40K at a time. You know, that's just normal. That's just what they'll do. They'll spend 40K a month on ads, right? These guys have bigger budgets, meaning you can charge them a couple $1,000 and they'll be like, okay, that's fine. Does that make sense? And if you get just five of those people charging 2K, you would have made 10,000. Like one of my clients actually signed on someone for 2K per month the other day. Jinder, shout out to you with a dental marketing agency. That was awesome. But yeah, like it's much easier to work B2B because they have more money. They have the cash flow to spend, right? They also don't require psychology, manipulation, or anything like that. They are very ROI driven. Like all they care about is a return on investment. Will that be present with you? Yes. So they will buy, right? All they're thinking is if I put $1,000 in, am I going to get $3, $4, $5,000 back, $10,000 back? If the answer is yes, they will buy. Okay, and obviously, if you're charging, let's say, $1,000, you only need 10 clients to make $10,000. If you're charging $2,000, you only need 5 clients. Right? If you're charging $5,000, you only need 2 clients. Does that make sense? Like, I one time charged someone 11K Canadian dollars. I immediately made 11K in that month just from that one client. It's really not as difficult as you think it is. Right? And then obviously the my most favorite part about the B2B stuff, the sales is less slimy. You know when you get on a call with someone, let's say you were about to buy a course or something and they were like pressuring you to buy. It just feels slimy, like and you feel like you can't get off the call and it's just gross. With B2B sales, you're straight talking about ROI. There's no manipulation, there's no weird script or emotional thing for them to get you to want to buy. Does that make sense? It's very, very straightforward. It's very logical, and it feels good on for both parties' ends. Okay. Now, you might be asking, oh, what does a B2B market actually want? Right? Let me break it down for you. Business owners only want two things. They want you to make them more money and or save them time. That's it. Okay? So what does make them more money look like? So if you can say to a business owner, I can get you more customers, they will be very interested in what you have to buy. Because more customers means more revenue, which means more money. Okay, so if you promise things like, I can get you more leads, I can get you more appointments, I can get you more walk-ins to your clinic, for example, that would get a business owner interested. You know, if you offer them, if you say, hey, I can get you more contracts signed, I can get you more deals closed, that would get them interested. Does that make sense? On the flip side, this is slightly for more established business owners now. They have a little bit more money. They're not financially constrained. They're more time constrained. These guys want to save time. So if you offer something like, "Hey, we'll automate all of this entire process for you, so you're not in the weeds spending so much time on it," or if you say, "Hey, like we'll build out this system for you, or we'll make this thing more efficient for you," that would get them interested. Okay, these guys don't really care about like views, really. They don't care about that type of stuff, to be honest. They just care about, is this going to make me money or is this going to save me time? For people who value saving time more, they tend to have more money. And those are pretty good people to go for, to be honest. But it does mean you, as the company, whether you do it yourself or you have employees to do it, you have to do a bit more heavy lifting for them. But it does mean you can charge more money, which is a good thing, right? The reason this is good for beginners is because you don't need advanced skills to look valuable to these people who just need their time saved. You know, a lot of small businesses, a lot of small businesses are doing nothing. Even like then even even if you're just good at the basics, you can impress people, right? Like if you just click a few buttons in Ads Manager and you set up a lead form for like local businesses, for example, because of how bad small businesses tend to be, these slightly bigger businesses will be like impressed. They'll think it's rocket science, unless they're obviously already doing like the ad stuff and the lead form stuff, right? But if you're just good at the basics, you can charge companies a few $1,000s, right, per month. So I recommend, if you're a beginner, to go after businesses with your offer. But there is one thing, there's a little nuance to this. Within the B2B realm, there is another sub market that I'm going to name, right? And I'll tell you what this sub market is in a second. That sub market specifically is what I want you to go after. Okay? Let me tell you something. When I first made my 25K month, my 10K month and whatever, like in fact, I made 10K in 2 weeks, 15 days to be exact, by the way. This was 2 weeks after I quit my job at Nando's and I had no job. And in those 2 weeks I made the 10K. And in January of this year I made my first 25K in the 30 days. I was targeting a specific sub market, and this sub market you can target to, and it will never get saturated, by the way. It just won't. Okay. I was targeting agency owners, so marketing agency owners above $2,000 per month. Okay. And I targeted these people with no case studies, which means you can do it too if you have no case studies. And these people were paying me 1K minimum. And then I bumped my price up to 3K and they paid that too. And then I bumped my price up to 4K and they paid that too. Okay. Now my price is obviously much higher than that, and I'm going after a slightly different market. But I could have bumped that price all the way up to 8K, 9K, and 10K, and these guys still would have paid, right? And obviously you need to get better at sales as you begin increasing your price and stuff like that, and have better marketing. But nevertheless, you can still charge good money whilst going after this specific market. Okay, so and this specific market isn't like, don't just copy me and go after agency owners above 2K per month. There was a reason why I went after that market, and I'll tell you why. There's a broader term name for this market, which I want to tell you in just a second. But this market is great. Like this concept that I'm about to give you is a great market to go after, because these people, they're not that far ahead, meaning you don't need to be you don't need to be a super big, large expert. You don't need to be super advanced. They're not that far ahead, and they're not broke. They're not completely broke either. Okay, and this market, I call them the B2Wannabe market. So you know how you have B2B? This is B2Wannabe. Like these are like almost wannabe business owners. Like they haven't achieved enough to be a bigger business owner. Does that make sense? And by the way, an actual big business owner is like 3 million plus per year. So like technically we're all smaller business owners. But like I'm referring to people making less than anyone making between 2 to 5K per month. Like they would be a good person to target, because again, like I said, the overarching market of B2B, some are super advanced, some are super broke. You want to go right in the middle where they're not advanced enough to make a whole lot of money just yet, but they're not super broke either. The B2Wannabes. Okay? These guys make 2 to 5K per month so they can actually afford you. And these guys are on a trajectory where they could be crushing, like they will crush it eventually, but they're not crushing it yet. And these specific types of people, they're doing well enough to want to pay for help, because they're beginning to understand that in order to grow, you need to spend money to be able to grow. Okay, and these guys are actively looking for new ways to grow. Okay, they're not completely new. They're not noobs, right? Because the noobs are like it's too difficult to serve. Like you stay away from the new people, right? And they're not experts either. Like the experts, like they don't really need you at the current state that you're in right now, and the experts kind of already know what they're doing, so you don't need to go to them unless like you are already an expert in something, right? The B2 wannabe market is great, and my B2B wannabe market was agency owners above 2K per month, because 2K per month as an agency isn't a lot of money, but they have the cash flow to be able to pay you, okay? And they should probably have some savings at this point. So there are some filters as to how you pick your B2 wannabe market, right? These are the 5 filters to pick your B2 wannabe market. Number 1, do they already spend money to get customers? So are they paying for ads? Are they paying for software tools? Have they got employees or contractors or video editors or anything like that? Are they paying for events already? That's a good sign. That means they have money to be spending, right? If they're not paying for customers, by the way, like if they're only relying on referrals, that's a bit of a red flag, because they're not at a point where they've completely ran out of referrals just yet, right? So they think that they can carry on doing what they want to do. So you like at the start with your B2 wannabe market, you don't really want to go for people who rely on referrals just yet, unless they're huge. Sorry, no, unless they've ran out of their referrals, okay? The second one, for this B2 wannabe market you're about to choose, is one client worth at least over $1,000 to them? So you can think maybe new dentist clinics, maybe gyms, real estate agents, consultants, agency owners. Like, if a customer for this person is only worth $50, they'll never be able to justify spending $1,000 or more to get help from you. Does that make sense? So, does this person sell something that's worth $1,000 or more? The reason I say you don't want to go for B2 wannabes who sell something cheap is because these guys have kind of made it difficult for themselves, because they don't understand that selling something cheap or competing on price is a bad thing to do. And if you're helping them do something that isn't really that good for them, especially if they're new entrepreneurs, it's going to spell disaster for you, right? And you're not going to be able to get them the result that they want, especially and a few names come to mind, lol. Especially if they're not capable of making that money, or like if they have super scarce thinking, you know? So only sign on B2Wannabe people if they have products or services that are worth more than a K. Okay? Number three, is this B2Wannabe market, are they hungry for growth? Like, do they actually want to spend more than 2K? Right? Like, are these people, these founders, are they ambitious? Are they wanting to expand their company? If these guys are comfortable, like if they say, yeah, I'm doing very well for myself, I'm making 2K a month, 3K, 5K a month, don't bother pitching to them. Because the people who think they're doing well for themselves, spending like making 5 to 10K a month, like they're just idiots, right? Like that's not doing well. That's like poverty levels, bro. You know, especially if you're like wanting to do big things in life. Okay. Number four, are there enough of them? So with the B2B wannabe market, you don't want to go for people where there's only like five of them in existence. You need like volume, and this is called your total addressable market. By the way, this is what TAM is. So, are there physically enough of these B2 wannabe entrepreneurs? Because imagine if you were fishing, and in the pond there was only five fish. After you catch one or two, or after you catch five fish, sorry, you sign five clients. There's no more fish left. But if in this pond there were 1,000 fish and there was just you could be fishing for so long without running out of fish, right? And by the time you catch your 20th, 30th, 50th fish, you would have become so experienced in catching fish, you would have realized that you probably want to go for like a shark, and you might travel to the ocean to try and catch a shark because you've got so much experience now. Does that make sense? So you want to go for people. You want to go for a B2 wannabe market where there is enough of them. And my thinking was this: agency owners above 2K per month. These guys have probably listened to someone like Iman Gaji, the red pill type of content, and there's a lot of agency owners that exist anyway. Now, if I just lowered the barrier to what a good agency is, so like making 2K per month, there's a lot of agencies making 2K per month. A lot of them. So I would never have really ran out of prospects. Does that make sense? And there's a lot of businesses making more than 10K per month. A lot of businesses making more than 50K a month. But it's much cheaper to go for a B2 wannabe market because these guys, you can still get people who are willing to pay money that is also in abundance. Like there's a lot of those people. Okay? And the fifth and final thing, by the way, is would you actually enjoy helping, like serving this type of client? Like, don't just pick a market because you think there's money in there. If you hate the market, you're going to burn out and you're going to deliver very crappy results. And then the money you quickly did make, when someone charges back on their credit card, it's not really that fun, right? Because the money just gets sucked out of your account. And if you've already spent the money, not great. Okay, so go after a market, and I say this with like a disclaimer, by the way. Go after a market where you have some type of experience in. Okay, like if you were if your dad is a dentist, for example, go after dental clinics. If you were if you're good at a sport like basketball, maybe you can go after basketball coaches, right? Something like that. Just go after people where you have some type of experience in. Because if you don't have any type of experience, you won't be able to speak the language of your prospect. And if you can't speak the language of your prospect, they're never going to buy from you. To give you an example, if a if a German came up to you and they started speaking German to you, trying to get you to buy their thing for 20 euros or 200 euros or 2,000 euros, you're never going to buy because you don't even understand what they're trying to sell you. Does that make sense? So you need to be able to speak their language, right? Now, Let me tell you something. Let me shit on cold calling for a little bit. You know when you're cold calling, by the way, you want to make like you always end up speaking to gatekeepers, right? So let me tell you something. With B2B, one of the problems you could encounter, or B2Wannabe, not B2Wannabe, but B2B, one of the problems you could encounter is that these people have gatekeepers, meaning you want to speak to the founder or the owner of the company. This is you, but instead of speaking directly to them, there'll be someone in the middle, like a receptionist. So if you decide to go after gyms or like a dental clinics or something, you will get met with gatekeepers and receptionists a lot. And if you're doing cold calls, they act as like a shield so that the owner and the founder of the company can protect their time against you trying to call them up annoyingly, right? And some of these gatekeepers, like their job is to specifically block people like you, right? And the reason you don't want to speak to a gatekeeper is because they can't just, even if they like what you're saying, they can't swipe the card. You know, they're not going to read the card. They don't have the authority. They don't have permission to read, like to have the card first of all, but then get the card and read the digits like to you over the phone, so you can get paid thousands of dollars, right? And more often than not, even if you're amazing at what you do, they'll say, "Yeah, sure, leave your details," and then they'll hang up on you. Like it's a complete waste of time pitching to these people. What we're going to do instead is after you've got your B2Wannabe market and you have some type of concept, and by the way, like you're not married to the niche. Like you just think of it as dating. Like you're just jumping between niches just to figure out what exactly you like and you don't like, so you can get more specific with the type of person you want to serve, right? But what we're gonna do instead is once we've got the B2Wannabe niche, we're gonna use paid ads and content. Because when you use paid ads and content, the Meta specifically, by the way, like Facebook and Instagram, those algorithms are so good that your content and your paid ads will only go to the founders and the business owners. That way, the people that are actually able to make financial decisions, that are actually able to pay you thousands of dollars, only they will be seeing your offer and message. So when they start reaching out to you, which they will, by the way, most of the time there won't be a gatekeeper. Does that make sense? So this is why paid ads and content is very, very, very good, right? You're going to be able to speak directly to these B2Wannabe business owners, these founders, okay? And if you wanted to know some examples of some strong B2Wannabe niches, if you really wanted to, you can copy what I did, which was marketing agency owners above 2K per month, because they're competent enough to make some type of money, but they're not big enough to really know what they're doing. It's like the perfect sweet spot. Um, you could go after like newer business owners, like new clinics. You could go after just any industry where they're only making about 2 to 5 thousand per month. That's like a pretty solid starting point to go from. Okay, but I say this with a massive disclaimer: you must be absolutely confident and certain that you can help this market that you choose, because you don't want to go after people because they can just pay you money. Because if you do that, you're not going to have a fun time, because these people will ask for refunds and it's just very annoying, right? Especially when someone asks for a refund when they don't deserve it. Okay, so it's just not a fun conversation to have, and especially the first like couple of times it happens, because it will happen, by the way, it happens to everyone. You're gonna feel very like distracted. You're gonna feel very emotional and anxious about it, and you'd feel like a bad person, right? So don't just go after people that can pay you money. Just go after people you can actually help, right? And then, of course, later in this bootcamp, I'm going to walk you through what good service delivery looks like and the types of offers you can make, so you know exactly how to back up the promises that you make, right? But some red flags, some red flags in niches before you pick an industry or something. You don't want to go after people that have very thin margins. Like, don't go after cafes or barbershops, right? Don't go after other companies. Don't go after businesses that just rely on referrals. You know, don't also don't go after businesses that are oversaturated by gurus, like online internet gurus, because and like what this means specifically is a biz op business. A biz op business is people who teach other people how to start a business. Like, don't go for that. Don't go to help that type of business just yet, um, because it's kind of difficult to serve those people, and it's very difficult to again convince the general public to buy your thing because these guys, the general public, they don't trust anyone and they also have no money, which isn't great, right? You also don't want to go after businesses that are too advanced for you right now. That's a very, very hard lesson that I learned. Like, don't try and sign on a company that's more advanced than you are because they'll be able to know that you're bullshitting from a mile away. Okay? Last thing, don't go after a desperate or a broke business. They can't pay you and they'll drain the life out of you and you wish you would have never signed them on. They are just terrible because they have no money and they also demand all of your time and they demand you to get on calls at stupid hours of the night. It's just a terrible business to go after, right? So, like I said, the B2Wannabe sweet spot is mid level, not completely brand new businesses that aren't fully scaled yet. These guys, they should be big enough to be able to pay 1 to 5k, um you know, provided you are worth that price point. And they should be small enough to still need some help. These guys should be hungry to grow. You should be able to target them, right? You should be able to say who this type of person is. You should be able to target this type of person, and they should be a profitable business. Okay, so once you've decided on this B2Wannabe um, idea, like this niche or this concept, right? Once you've found this specific type of group of people, this specific market, and I'm not going to tell you exactly which one to find because it's different for everyone. I'm not here to sell you a biz up. I'm literally just trying to tell you what works. So you need to figure out which B2Wannabe market you want to target. Okay? Go after some people you have some type of experience with, please. And if you have no experience, go get some. Just start doing shit, right? And you'll start getting the experience. So, by the way, if you want like an extra point, by the way, if you are struggling to get experience as an entrepreneur, start doing some hobbies. Like I did martial arts growing up. One of the industries I could have gone in is scaling martial arts schools. There we go. That's an industry, right? Or maybe scaling martial arts instructors. That could have been one because those guys are probably making 2 to 5k a month, right? So that's an example. Just go after people that have some type of they're making 2 to 5k a month and they have some type of they have a drive in order to want more. Now, once you have this B2Wannabe concept, you need to start putting together something called an ICP. An ICP stands for Ideal Client Profile, okay? And an ideal client profile is like a blueprint of your perfect client, okay? And this is very important. Like, I did not put mine together in such a long time, right? And what that meant was my messaging was unclear. And if you're unclear about your messaging, your prospects are also going to be unclear with if you can help them or not. If you have crystal clear messaging, your ads will perform way better. You'll only be speaking to people you know you can help, right? And you'll sign on better clients too, right? And the problem that most beginners make is that their ICPs are just way too broad. Okay, my ICP, and I'll probably put like the document of what mine is at this time down below. My ICP is like 15 pages long, and it goes into a lot of detail about 5 topics, which I'm going to share with you right now. Your solid ICP should have It's demographics written in there, the psychographics, the frustrations, their dream outcomes, and their buying behavior. Those 5 things needs to be included in your ICP document. Okay, so let me give you let me give you examples of what each like what points could be for those 5 points that I said. So demographics, that stuff like what's the industry that they're in, what is the size of the company, right? How much money do they make per month? Where are they typically located? Are they a local business? Are they global, right? Psychographics. What are their values? This is very important. Do not sleep on psychographics, by the way. Like, psychographics is extremely important, so pay attention to this. Psychographics. What are their values? What do they believe in? What don't they believe in? What are their ambitions? What are their fears? What are they scared of? What are they deeply insecure about? Very important, okay? If you think that business owners don't care about being insecure, you are absolutely wrong. Most successful business owners are deeply insecure and they're very scared of being considered failures. Okay? The next point, frustrations. What are their current bottlenecks? What are their pain points? A pain point is literally just a thing that's causing them some type of pain. Maybe not physical pain, but just some type of discomfort. So are they not getting enough leads into their business? Do they not have enough people walking into their clinic? Do they have a conversion problem? Do they have a problem with like making the sales? Like when they speak to people, they're not closing enough deals, right? What are their bottlenecks? What is the thing that's stopping them from growing? Their dream outcomes. This is what winning means to them specifically. This also tends to be the opposite to their bottleneck, but it can go a lot deeper. Like, for example, you may think that your B2Wannabe's dream outcome is making more money, but if you were to go more specific, maybe they don't care about the money. Maybe they care about being able to travel and have the freedom. Does that make sense? So, or maybe they want the money so that they can buy Rolexes and like really fast cars because they care more about the status. They care more about being perceived as better than other people. So you need to get crystal clear on what their real actual dream outcome is. So if their dream outcome again is money, go one level deeper and try to understand what about the money do they actually want, right? If their dream outcome is wanting more time, go one level deeper and understand what they want the more time for. Do they want more time to be able to sit around by the pool and do nothing? Do they want more time to be able to spend with their friends, their family, their wife, their husband, their kids? Right? Like, think one level deeper when it comes to their dream outcomes. And then another very, very important thing is buying behavior. So your ICP document should contain how they decide to buy, what convinces them to buy. Like, you need to know what their buying behavior is so you can complement that with the style of marketing that you do. So to give you an example, right now, the current type of buyer that I'm going after, these guys like to do their research on you beforehand, and they like to feel like that you are a competent human being, right? They like to feel like you know what you're talking about. They like to feel like you're an expert. So their buying behavior is seeing your ad or something, maybe clicking on it, looking at your website, whatever, clicking onto your profile. What are you all about? Maybe clicking onto your YouTube channel, watching a couple of YouTube videos. Do they like the way you're talking? Do they think that you know what you're talking about? Right? The type of buyer I'm going after cares about this stuff. So you need to understand, and again, this is why it's very important to know and have experience in the field that you're trying to enter. Because you need to know exactly what their buying behavior is, what convinces them. To give you like an extreme example, if you're selling to extremely rich people and you're selling something for $5 million, like maybe you're selling a Coding Z car, like you're selling like a crazy sports car for $5 million, right? Do you think these guys care about anything apart from status, really? right? Because they can get a very comfortable car for 300,000. Why are they spending the 5 million? It's because they want the high performance status, right? So you need to be able to sell them status. So you need in your marketing, you need to associate yourself and with branding as well. You need to associate yourself with higher status in order to appeal to those people who will pay $5 million for a car. Does that make sense? So with the B2Wannabe people, these guys think they're smart, like to some degree, right? They are kind of smart because they've made a little bit of money, but they're not extremely intelligent. They don't actually know how business and big businesses work because they haven't hit 10, 50, 20K months before. 10K months, 20K months, 50K months, right? They haven't hit those months before, so they don't really know how it works. So what you need to do is you need to understand that like these guys are driven by some type of emotion, but they also have a logical side to them as well. So you need to have the right balance, right? But if you understand their psychographics, so you understand what their values are, that you understand their ambitions and what their deepest, darkest fears are, you'll like with your marketing and how you present yourself in content and stuff, you'll check off the emotional part of selling pretty easily, right? Next comes in the logical part. Like once you've aligned their heart with the emotional stuff, the logical part, you can also, you know, you'll be able to align their mind as well. You'll be able to sign them on, especially if you speak with confidence and conviction, right? That's a very key thing. Okay, so if I was to give you an example of like a dental clinic, right? Let's say my ICP was a dentist. The demographic would be people that are probably 25 to 45 years old, perhaps 55 years old, and they have a 1 to 3 chair practice. Like they don't have many chairs in the dental clinic, right? The psychographic is this: they want more private patients, and they're tired of people canceling subscriptions and insurances and things like that, right? Or they're just being completely outcompeted by other people. People just don't know they exist. Their frustration is that their calendars, like their slots, are super empty, and they have overcost. They have like overhead costs that they're having to pay each month, right? And their absolute dream outcome would be being fully booked with high value treatment. So a high value treatment would be more Invisalign cases. Imagine if their calendar was fully booked with people just wanting Invisalign all the time, or full implant cases all the time, or full arch cases all the time, right? And these people's buying behavior, like these dentists, by the way, and the reason I know a lot about dentists is because I've scaled a few dental marketing agencies up. I'm currently scaling one up to 100K per month, which is pretty cool. They currently make like 55K a month. So, but these guys' buying behaviors, they don't actually care about the nitty gritty stuff. They just want to see proof of an ROI, and they don't really care for vague promises either. They just want to. They don't want to turn their brain on. They don't care. All they want to know is, can you make me money? Yes or no. That's just what their buying behavior is. That's just what they want. So you need to be able to demonstrate proof that you can make them more money. If you do not have testimonials, you need to be providing case studies. So find a case of a dental clinic doing very well and completely break down everything that they did in order to do well, and present that to the clinic and say, I will do all of these things for you. So in their mind, it's super logical for them to buy. Like literally make a study of a case that's done well. And again, don't worry. Later on in this bootcamp, I will have a section or maybe a full video completely talking about the types of proof that you can put forward that don't have to be normal testimonials. They can be different things. Keep in mind, by the way, I signed my first client who paid me $3,000, paid upfront in full without any case studies or testimonials. So you can do it too. Okay. So some mistakes that beginners make with ICPs is that they go too broad. And I think I mentioned this before. You don't just want to go for any business owner who needs clients, right? And you also don't want to go too narrow either. Like you don't want to say I will only help left-handed gym owners in London. making exactly $3,217 per month. You don't want to go that specific because there's only five of them in existence, right? Your sweet spot with your ICP is specific but scalable. So your ICP should feel like a real person you could describe at a party, but not so rare that you'd struggle to find 50 of them. Does that make sense? That's the balance that you need to try and find. Okay? Now, another thing you need to understand is that I mentioned this before, you're not marrying your niche. You're just going after a slightly broader market, right? The B2Wannabe market. It's broader than B2B because a lot of people they want to be big business owners, but they're not, right? You're going after a broader market of B2Wannabe, but not so broad that these people can't pay you, right? Because you are also in a testing phase right now. You need to understand what exactly you like and what exactly you don't like about clients so you can tighten your messaging over time to specifically only help a specific type of business owner or a specific type of entrepreneur. Because once you're at that point and you know exactly who you want to help, you can charge higher prices and you'll be able to know their current situation more than they know their current situation. And you'll be able to provide a solution which for them is a complete no brainer. And how you know you've done that correctly, by the way, I got on a sales call the other week, and this person said to me like, "Yo, I get on these calls all the time, and I refuse to like in my head I was not going to pay anything more than 1K." At the end of that call, he was sold on paying me 11K upfront, paid in full. It's very possible. Like you have to believe me, it's very possible, but it's not possible to do until you until you start serving the B2Wannabe market first. Because this is your testing ground to figure out exactly what type of customer you want. Okay? You're only going to commit to this for like 90 days or so. Like 90 to 180 days maybe. That's all you're going to commit to this B2Wannabe market for. I committed to the B2Wannabe market for about 90 days. 90 to 120 days is what I stayed in this market for. Okay? You're not in this market for life, right? Absolute worst case scenario, you learn very, very fast and you pivot with absolute clarity and certainty of exactly the type of person you don't want to help. Absolute best case scenario, you immediately click, you understand exactly who you're wanting to help, and you love the B2Wannabe marketplace, and you start signing clients for 10K. Or at the very least, you hit the 10K mark. Okay? And one thing you need to understand, the final thing that I'll leave off with, is you're not just choosing a niche, right? Yes, choosing a niche is part of it, but the main thing I want you to take away from this is in the B2Wannabe marketplace, you're just, I want you to lock in on a clear ICP that you can grow alongside with, okay? The ICP is the most important part of anything. It's the absolute foundations. I've spoken to business owners before who have I've spoken to business owners before who have 40-page documents on their ICP. Some of them might even have 100 pages on exactly who their ideal client profile is. And the decisions they make in the marketing, maybe the sales of their business, is will my ICP like this? Yes or no? Or will this bring my ICP closer to a buying decision? Yes or no? Okay? You need to get absolutely crystal clear on your ICP. And this ICP should be in the B2Wannabe marketplace. Okay? This specific decision of building ICP alone will determine whether you hit 10K or whether you stay completely stuck. So the choice is yours.